Welcome all to another unboxing. Today we got a Panasonic Lumix G70 here because I want to bring the quality of our YouTube channel to the next level, and we obviously want to have higher quality and also more control, also video and audio quality. So let's open it up. By the way, some plastic between the paper. Certainly not the best for the environment. Why can this not be some pressed paper? Please, companies, be more environmentally friendly. So actually, the other month I also brought a Sony Alpha 5100. The reason I brought this is that I had an old E-mount lens from the stolen or lost or whatever Nex 6 some years ago, and I wanted to reuse the lens that was since then on my desk because it was stolen or lost with a just newly purchased travel zoom. In retrospect, maybe I should not have brought this because first of all, this is not 4K, but obviously I knew this when I purchased it, and also it has not an input for a microphone. I also knew that, but I thought it's not so bad. But actually the microphone is quite bad in this camera, and I even glued there some cosmetic pad things on top for some wind shielding. So actually the camera is quite nice and compact in quality. However, it would be so much more awesome with either a better microphone and definitely a microphone input, and even in full HD it is overheating, so you cannot film so long with this camera. But some of the YouTube videos in the last months were already at times at least partially shot with Sony Alpha. The reason I brought this now is first of all 4K, and second of all the microphone input, which here's a mic input, which we definitely need for the audio quality. So manual, nobody reads it anyway, right? One nice thing of the Sony is also that you charge it with a USB cable, so this is really nice for traveling with all the many features: 4K, longer video filming without overheating, and microphone input and such. One small drawback is that you probably have to take the battery out to charge it. So battery goes here, battery card. Please set the language, obviously English. Please set the clock. In the meantime, this camera is quite cheap. Normally I would probably have waited for the successor. That probably comes out soon, but then it will of course be more pricey, and I want to have a better audio setup for the next videos. Please set the home area. Other people would call it a time zone, they call it home area. Okay, then time for the lens. Also, initially I actually did not want to spend more money than I earn with the YouTube channel, but in the meantime I also want to produce better content. I already violated this with spending more money for the Sony camera, and now additionally for the Panasonic Lumix, but I saved a little bit with the kit lens here. This is only the 14 to 42 millimeter, but it is more compact. They also had for a little bit less than 200 more a 14 to 140 or so lens, but given that we are going to mostly short distance videos, and also this is more compact and lightweight, so that's probably what we mostly need anyway. Otherwise, for travel photography, the 14 to 140 millimeter lens certainly is a much better choice, but again we wanted to save here a little bit for our video hobby. So let's see. With this video we are not going into a full photography review. As this camera is older, there are certainly plenty of other videos and articles about this. I only wanted to point out some YouTube specific points. First is, in earlier times I always found this 180-degree display a gimmick that is prone to breaking. However, for YouTube videos it's of course quite a must to see yourself while filming. And this is also why I went with the Sony, because the Sony Alpha 5100 also has a similar 180-degree flip display. Again, for normal photography I would probably not want this. I would fear that it breaks sooner than later. For selfie YouTube video filming, so even if you film some product or IT setup, you have some control over what you're filming. Also in the long term, you definitely want a camera with microphone input. This is the biggest shortcoming of this. I'm quite sure these microphones will not be the most awesome. And also I wonder why the camera vendors need to have this flimsy cord things here, because when you're on the go you hear this. I realized this already with this camera. I probably have to do something about this, because when you walk around you hear this. The noise is transmitted mechanically through the body directly to the microphones, and this is very much hearable in the video. So maybe it works, maybe it's usable with an external microphone. I have to check, but otherwise this is really not, this is definitely not the best technical solution for this. Another point I noticed in the store already, but I purchased it nonetheless because I think there's a hack for this, that at least in this European version, for the video you only have 50 and 25 frames per second. This is of course not ideal for modern photography, because usually the displays run around 60 Hz. And if you play a video with 50 or 25 frames, the frames are not synchronized, resulting in quite choppy motions of things in motion, cars driving by and people moving. So this is definitely not ideal. And I find this really sad that manufacturers still stick with this Stone Age standards of television broadcasting standards of NTSC and PAL in general. This is really totally silly. And I saw on the internet when I did some research that there is a hack. I'm not sure if you need this in the States, but at least here, these cameras, we will try now to switch this to some hack mode where it is supposed to enable 60 frames per second. This is of course totally silly that you need to have some special button press combinations to enable 60 frames per second. This is, by the way, here it is similar. When you unpack this in Europe, this Sony Alpha 5100 will also only allow 50 frames per second unless you go to the PAL NTC selector and switch this to NTC, which I've done already. But the funny and really annoying thing is each time I switch on the Sony Alpha now, it's telling me it's running on NTC. I mean, what the heck? Yes, and it's showing this forever until you press a button. This is really, I really wonder what they're thinking. And in this Panasonic Lumix G7 there is nothing like an NTSC option to enable the 60 frames per second. According to some Google, there apparently is some special mode, whatever that is, that you enable by clicking the right, actually, so right display lock and switch it on. Right display lock and on. I hope this was long enough. Then play. And then up, lock and off. So up, lock and off. So you saw the exclamation mark that according to the internet is the sign that this worked. And now it should have an option to shoot 60 frames per second. Let's check it. Yeah, so now we have 60p. I mean, what crazy nonsense is this? That you need such crazy hacks. I don't know if there is some legal reason to pay more customs duty for professional camera equipment, or I don't know, but I find this really totally crazy that you need hacks like this to enable totally normal video format options. So what do we have here? 60p, 24p, 30p. This probably should be 4K, huh? Interesting. Now with this mode enabled, each time you switch it off, you have the exclamation mark, similar to each time I switch the Sony camera on, I now have an NTC warning. This is really silly, but what do we know? I hope, especially with the external microphone and maybe also 4K footage, this can further improve the quality of videos here on this channel. So much for the YouTube video tips and tricks with the Panasonic Lumix G70 for today. I hope you find this commentary interesting and learn something. And don't forget to subscribe for the next videos to come.